Here we are, one more again. New thumbnail, new intro. Shout out to Granny Monster for the thumbnail, for the graphics that she did. But anyway, I had to correct the error from last week. This is actually week 11. Last week was week 10. So I kind of skipped week 5. It gets confusing. Sorry about that, but I had to correct some things. This is not going to be a long live stream. It is still $10 March, and I still have another $10 to put into my savings. There's just something quick I want to talk about, since it's going, where I lost track of things. We want to talk about record keeping. While it is said from the rapper, Big, never let no one know how much dough you hold, because you know that cheddar breed jealousy and envy, you know, that is true, street. Otherwise, you don't want to let nobody know how much money you actually have. But you do want to keep proper records of what you got. You don't want to miss dates. You don't want to miscount what you have. You want to be able to take stock and inventory of what you got in the stash, what you have in the bank. I do keep my bank statements up to date or try to keep abreast of what's going on. Some people have it online through online apps and stuff like that. So you do want to keep track of how much money you got coming in, you got going out. It doesn't hurt to look at your records and review the bills that you're paying, the money that you have to spend, filing taxes and different financial matters and stuff like that. And it does relate to saving. Even if you have to write it down, on a piece of paper somewhere, or get you a notebook, or save it on your phone, or get an app or something like that, it will pay greatly dividends. It will pay dividends to basically have, a record of what you're putting to the side and what you're allocating for what you want to allocate it for. Like I said before in past live streams and even audios that I'm doing now, you may want to go on a vacation. You may need it for emergencies, somebody's sick, or, you may have to pay some kind of bill. You know what it is. It's about, what you allocate the money for. And it's like somebody was saying, I was watching a television show, I forget what it was, but it was a financial guru who was talking about when you save, one of the best ways to save is towards goals. So you get to the point where you're saving towards a goal. You're saving towards something that have a particular, I guess, hankering for, a particular need for, or it may be a want or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, so you have different reasons and stuff like that. But it's important to keep track of what you're doing. And if you make mistakes, just come back and correct it and whatnot. So I do review my records and do put stuff in perspective and put it to the side. Even if you have to, like I said, save it somewhere. I mean, of course, don't let nobody else know how much money you actually have. I mean, once you start putting it out there that you are doing things, of course, people will think you're rich. Folks may think I got more money than I actually have. You'd be surprised, but we're not going to get into all that. It's just important to know how much you actually have. Everybody else doesn't have to know what you got, but it is important to know what you have. It is important to know, how much you can save and how much you're spending. It would even help to have an income maintenance sheet or learn how to use a balance sheet, really to understand the financial language, of how you put money to the side. I encourage people to even have a bank account, or to have some kind of savings bonds, or direct deposit account or something like that, or something, some financial vehicle, no matter what it is, to be able to put your money certain places. Of course, there are folks that don't trust banks, and that's understandable. Not everybody trusts banks and stuff like that, but you can actually save money in multiple ways. I mean, especially with online banking, or places where you could put your money in, what do you call it, a safe deposit box. There's different things that you can do. You know, maybe you have somebody you trust like that, a family friend, something like that, that could put your money safely to the side, or somewhere where people don't know what's going on. And there's different ways you can do it. There's no one right way. There's no one particular wrong way, unless you're actually telling people what you're doing. You just want to be discreet and safe about it, but you do want to have a record of what you're doing and putting aside legally. Of course. Um, I can't speak for anything else as far as record keeping is concerned illegally. That's another story, another conversation all in itself. I'm a good old boy. But as I'm saying, it's just like it's important to know, even if you're just paying bills, even if you're just getting money, you're getting paid weekly or bi-weekly, to know how much money is actually coming in and coming out, and to have proper record keeping, just to be aware, keep abreast, just to double check, recheck. That's how I got into my whole thing. I was just looking at my live streams and looking at this whole saving by the numbers, and I'm saying to myself, I said, oh, okay, I should be going up to week 12. And it wasn't week 12. It's still a week 11, now it's week 11. Last week was week 10. So, it's just important to make sure that you got it together, that you're working it out, that you're putting it, in proper perspective, because you actually want to know how much money you have. Like I said, they say usually the smartest people in the room are the ones that know what you're doing with your money. And you don't want somebody else to know what you're doing with your money, as opposed to, what you're doing with your money, if that makes any sense. You want to know what's going on with your money more than somebody else is. And that comes with, knowing how much you're putting aside, knowing how much you're spending on things. Sometimes you just have to double back when everything seems right and above board. Maybe you have to go and say, okay, let me review the books once more. Let me go and, just double check, and especially when it comes to saving money. You want to make sure you're not putting too much money to the side. You're not robbing Peter to pay Paul, or you're not robbing Peter to save for Paul, or, however that works. You want to make sure that you constantly have some kind of record or documentation or some kind of awareness. If you can do it all in your head, then kudos to you. Maybe you're some kind of mathematician or some genius, or somebody that has a real great memory and you got all the memory techniques down. Maybe you went on YouTube or Googled it or Facebook somewhere and you figured that out. I don't know. Kudos to you, if you've done that. But the important point is to, have proper record keeping, just to know, and be aware of what you're bringing in, what you're saving, how much you can afford to save. Maybe you can't afford to save it that month, that week, that particular time period. Maybe you need it for bills or some unforeseen circumstances that came up. You never know. So it is important to just say, hey, you know what? Let me be aware. Let me be abreast of this situation. Let me figure out, what I can afford to save and what I can't afford to save, what's for bills or anything else. But on that note, thank you for listening. And this $10 March, another week. This is week 11. Take care.